All personnel to emergency stations. 3 Vorkon juveniles have breached containment. Repeat, apex predators are loose on station. This is not a drill. Conservation Director Zilax's 4 hands moved across the command console with practiced precision that couldn't quite hide their tremor. Behind him, the primary view screen displayed 3 empty containment cells. Their titanium-reinforced barriers peeled open like flower petals. "How long?" Security Chief Korvax demanded, his dorsal ridge fully extended in threat display. 17 minutes since the breach was detected. Zilax pulled up the security feed. The cubs, each already the size of a full-grown earth lion, had somehow bypassed 6 independent security systems, 3 biometric locks, and a neural deterrent field that should have rendered them unconscious within seconds. Thermal imaging is offline. Scent trackers have been deployed to all 12 sectors. We've sealed bulkheads on levels 4 through 9. "They're 8 months old," Korvax said, his translator barely processing the words. "At 8 months, they can tear through starship hulls." "I'm aware." Zilax activated the station-wide intercom again. "All staff are to remain in secure locations. Response teams Alpha through Epsilon are authorized to use tranquilizer rounds on site. These are the last breeding Vorkon in existence. Lethal force is forbidden." "Sir, we've got 47 search teams deployed," the tactical coordinator reported. "Covering primary corridors, engineering spaces, cargo bays, life support." "What about the habitation rings?" "Evacuating now. Teams are sweeping every residential unit." Zilax's primary hearts hammered against his chest cavity. 3 cubs. The last hope for a species that had dominated the food chain on 6 worlds before habitat collapse drove them to extinction in the wild. If anything happened to them, 200 years of conservation work would... The command center doors opened. Emma Johnson walked in, holding a coffee mug that read, "Galaxy's okayest conservationist." She was still wearing her off-duty clothes, some kind of soft earth garment with a hood, and something called a cartoon cat on the front. "Hey, sorry, was in the shower. What's the emergency?" She took a sip of coffee, completely unbothered by the blaring alarms and flashing red emergency lights. "Someone said the cubs got out." "Miss Johnson, 3 Vorkon juveniles have escaped maximum security containment." Zilax gestured to the screen showing the demolished cells. "We've initiated full lockdown protocols. Every section of this station is being searched." "Oh." Emma squinted at the screen. "Did anyone check the obvious places?" Korvax's ridge somehow extended further. "Miss Johnson, we have 47 trained security personnel conducting systematic searches of..." Yeah, I got that part." Emma waved her free hand dismissively. "But did you check the obvious places?" "We are following standard emergency protocols for escaped apex predators," Zilax said slowly, trying to maintain professional composure despite the fact that somewhere on his station, 3 creatures capable of hunting Crithian adults who stood 3 meters tall and could bench press a hovercar, were roaming freely. Every location where the cubs could logically, Emma laughed, actually laughed, while containment breach alarms continued to wail. "Okay, so where have your teams searched so far?" Zilax pulled up the tactical display. "All primary corridors, engineering subsections, cargo bays, maintenance tunnels, ventilation access points, research laboratories, medical facilities." "And you found..." "Nothing." The word tasted like defeat. "Thermal scans show no heat signatures matching Vorkon physiology. Scent trackers found trails, but they terminate at impossible locations. One dead ends at an exterior airlock, another at a refuse processing unit, the third at a water recycling junction." How long have they been loose? 21 minutes now. Emma took another long sip of coffee. So they've been missing for almost half an hour. They're babies who just pulled off the galaxy's most exciting adventure, and nobody's found them yet. Ms. Johnson, I don't think you understand the severity. Oh, I understand perfectly. She set her mug down on the command console, ignoring Korvax's scandalized expression. You've got 3 8-month-old cubs who just had the most thrilling 30 minutes of their lives. And you're looking for them like they're still in hunt mode. She glanced at the chronometer on the wall. What's your station temperature in common areas? 22 degrees Celsius. Standard comfort range for... Why does that matter? Humor me. Where's it warmest? Zilax's confusion must have shown on his face because Emma grinned. That peculiar human expression that showed teeth but somehow indicated friendliness rather than aggression. Director, with all respect, I don't think your cubs are hunting anymore, Emma said. I think they're napping. Napping? Korvax's translator practically sparked. Ms. Johnson, these are Vorkon juveniles. At this age, they don't nap. They hunt, they feed, they establish territorial dominance. The last recorded incident with loose juveniles resulted in 12 casualties and... Yeah, in a hunting preserve where they were actively stalking prey. Emma interrupted, pulling out her tablet. This is a conservation station, different context. Zilax felt his secondary heart skip. Miss Johnson, perhaps you should return to your quarters where it's safe. Director, the tactical coordinator's voice cut through the command center. We've analyzed the security footage. The cubs didn't just breach containment, they systematically disabled each security layer. The neural deterrent field was bypassed using the maintenance access panel. They understood the security system. The view screen shifted to show grainy footage of 3 cubs moving with disturbing intelligence through the containment area. One actually paused to manipulate a control interface with its foreclaw. That's problem-solving behavior we don't see until they're at least 14 months old, Zilax whispered. Station AI has run probability models, another technician reported. 94% chance they've entered the ventilation system. They could be anywhere. Exterior hull breach is possible. Vorkon can survive vacuum exposure for up to 8 minutes. 8 minutes. Zilax's voice came out flat. They could have already escaped to the planet's surface. Evacuation protocols are ready, sir. We can have all 2,200 personnel off station within 90 minutes if... No. Zilax straightened. We are not abandoning this station. Contact the Galactic Conservation Council. Emergency priority. If these cubs are lost, the species is extinct. Emma was scrolling through her tablet like she was checking messages, completely ignoring the escalating panic around her. Hey, quick question. Where are your warmest common areas? Break rooms, lounges, anywhere with like soft furniture? Ms. Johnson, we don't have time for Residential Sector C, she continued, reading off her screen. Climate controlled to 24 degrees. Cafeteria level 5, 23 degrees. Observation deck, 22 degrees. She looked up. Any of these searched yet? All of them, Korvax snapped. Twice. We've cleared every public space on this station. Uh-huh. Emma zoomed in on something. What about private quarters? We're conducting systematic sweeps now. But there are over 800 residential units. It will take hours. Director Zilax, we're losing thermal control in Sector 7. Someone called out. The cubs may have damaged environmental systems. Reroute power from auxiliary. Sir, if they've compromised life support, we have to evacuate. They're 8 months old. Emma's voice cut through the chaos. She was laughing, actually laughing, You're acting like they're calculating tactical strikes. They're basically teenagers who broke out of their room. Korvax moved toward her, his entire posture radiating threat. Ms. Johnson, with all due respect, your species has been spacefaring for barely 2 centuries. We have studied Vorkon behavior for... Let me see their behavioral data. Emma held out her hand. All of it. Feeding times, sleep cycles, activity patterns. This is hardly the time for... Now, please. Something in her tone, that same casual confidence that made humans so unnerving, made Zilak's gesture to a technician. Send it to her tablet. Emma's screen filled with data. Sleep patterns, REM cycles, feeding schedules, activity logs, stress responses, social behaviors. Months of carefully documented observations. She scrolled through it in 30 seconds. Oh yeah, she said, looking up, with a grin. They're definitely napping. Ms. Johnson, look at the timeline. They escaped at 8:47, right? That's exactly 20 minutes after their scheduled morning feeding. She turned the tablet to show Zilak a chart he'd seen 1,000 times. Their typical post-feeding activity window is 30 to 40 minutes. Then they enter a rest cycle that lasts 2 to 3 hours. They're not hunting. They got excited, burned off energy breaking out of containment, and now they're... Director! A technician's voice carried pure panic. We just lost contact with Search Team Delta in Residential Sector G. The command center fell silent. Get me a location, Korvax ordered. Now. Residential Sector G, Level 12, Corridor 47. Their biosigns are still active, but they're not responding to hails. Zilak felt his world narrowing to a single point. If the Cubs had attacked a search team... Emma set down her tablet. Okay, I'm going to go find them now. You most certainly are not... Director, with respect, I actually know what I'm looking for. She picked up her coffee mug. You're searching for apex predators. I'm searching for tired kids who want somewhere cozy to sleep. Ms. Johnson, if you enter an unsecured area while 3 Vorkon juveniles are loose... They're not loose, Emma said, already walking toward the door. They're napping, and I know exactly where. Absolutely not. Korvax moved to block the door. Ms. Johnson, you will remain in this command center until... Director Zilak, we have Dr. Liranna on priority channel. The communications officer interrupted. She's inbound from the research vessel. The view screen flickered to show a Solarian xenobiologist, her head crests fully extended in agitation. Director, I received your emergency signal. What's the situation? 3 juveniles escaped containment 43 minutes ago. We've lost contact with the search team. Ms. Johnson here believes they're napping. Liranna's eye membranes blinked rapidly. Napping? Director, Vorkon juveniles at 8 months exhibit distinct behavioral patterns. Territorial establishment, dominance displays, proto-hunting behaviors. If they've gone to ground, they're setting up ambush positions. The data is conclusive. See? Korvax gestured at the screen. Dr. Liranna has studied Vorkon behavior for 37 years. Cool. Emma took another sip of coffee. What about their sleep cycles? Their what? Liranna's translator seemed to struggle with the question. Sleep cycles. You know, when they rest. Close their eyes, do the whole unconscious thing. Ms. Johnson, sleep behavior is irrelevant during crisis response. What matters is their hunting patterns, territorial instincts, aggression triggers. Is it, though? Emma leaned against the console. Irrelevant, I mean. Because you just said they're 8 months old and exhibiting all these intense behaviors. That takes energy, lots of it. Obviously, juvenile, Vorkon have metabolic rates 40% higher than adults to support rapid growth. Right. So they escaped, had this massive adrenaline rush, ran around this huge station exploring everything, and then Emma made a gesture with her hand, like something winding down. Where did all that energy go? Xilax found himself actually considering it. They would experience fatigue. Exactly. They're growing. They just had the most exciting morning of their lives, and now they're exhausted. Emma pulled up her tablet again. They'd look for somewhere to crash, somewhere warm, enclosed, safe. Vorkon juveniles don't recognize safe, Lirana said firmly from the screen. They recognize hunting territory and foreign territory. Their neurological development doesn't allow for their babies. Emma laughed. I don't care what species they are. Babies get tired and scared and want to feel cozy. That's like universal. Your species has been studying Vorkon for what, 5 years? Korvax's ridge was fully spiked now. Dr. Lirana has dedicated her life to understanding. Where do your staff take breaks? Emma asked suddenly, looking at Xilax. When people are tired, where do they go? Where's warmest? Where do people gather to relax? Xilax pulled up a station map. Common lounges on levels 6 and 9. Observation deck. Recreational facilities on level 3. The Arboretum maintains higher humidity and temperature for the plant specimens. All searched, Korvax interrupted. Thoroughly. What about personal spaces? Emma was moving toward the door again. Private areas? We're sweeping residential quarters, but as I said, there are hundreds. Director, Search Team Delta is responding. The technician's voice carried obvious relief. They're okay. They report they found the cub's scent trail leading into a ventilation grate, but lost it. There. Lirana gestured from the screen. Ventilation system. Classic ambush positioning. They're using elevated positions to... Or they crawled in there because it's warm and dark and enclosed. Emma was halfway to the door now. Quick question. Do Vorkon cubs recognize scent markers? Of course, Lirana said. They have olfactory sensitivity far beyond most species. They can track prey across... And humans smell different than any species they've encountered, right? Like completely different biochemistry, different pheromones, all that. Xilax nodded slowly. Your species has a distinct scent profile. The cubs would have cataloged it by now. You've been working with them for 3 months. But they've never shown aggression toward you, Korvax added grudgingly. You're outside their threat assessment parameters. Exactly. Emma started walking down the corridor, security personnel scrambling to follow her. So if they're looking for somewhere that feels safe, somewhere that doesn't trigger their foreign territory response, they might go somewhere that smells familiar, but not threatening. Ms. Johnson, where are you going? Xilax called after her, abandoning his command console to follow. Human quarters are in residential sector G, right? Emma called back over her shoulder. Level 12? That's where we lost contact with Search Team Delta, Korvax said, his weapon suddenly in his hand. Yeah. Emma turned a corner, heading for the residential section. Her voice carried back, almost cheerful despite the blaring alarms. I'm going to check my room. Your room? Xilax was running now, his 4 legs giving him an advantage in catching up. Ms. Johnson, if the cubs are in your quarters, then they're probably sleeping on something soft and warm that smells like me, Emma said. She reached her residential corridor, swiping her access card. Because that's what tired kids do. The door slid open. Emma walked in like she was coming home after a normal day at work. Behind her, Zillax prepared for the worst-case scenario of his entire career. Emma's quarters were standard conservation station issue. Compact, efficient, sterile. A bed, a desk, a small seating area. The climate control vent hummed softly in the corner, maintaining the slightly warmer temperature humans preferred. 6 security personnel filed in behind her, weapons raised, targeting systems active. Korvax's dorsal ridge was so extended, it nearly touched the ceiling. Emma walked calmly across the room to her chair, where she'd left her favorite hoodie draped over the back that morning. The gray earth garment with University of Auckland, Zoology Department, printed across the front. Except the hoodie was moving. Not much. Just the subtle rise and fall of breathing. And a sound, a deep, rumbling purr that should have meant a Vorkon had just finished a successful hunt and was satisfied with its kill. Emma picked up the hoodie carefully. 3 Vorkon cubs were nestled inside it. 1 curled in the hood, 2 somehow wedged into the front pocket, their scaled bodies compressed together in a tangle of limbs and tails. All 3 were fast asleep. The purring continued, soft and rhythmic. "Found him," Emma said. Zillax's translator made a sound like it was trying to process an impossible equation and failing. His mouth opened, closed, opened again. No words came out. That's impossible." Korvax's weapon lowered slightly, his targeting system flickering in confusion. "They should have detected our approach. Their sensory apparatus registers vibrations from 30 meters away. They should be awake, alert, in defensive posture." "They're asleep," Emma said, gently adjusting the hoodie so she could see all 3 cubs better. "Like, really deeply asleep. Look at them." "Dr. Lirana." Zillax finally managed to speak, his voice barely above a whisper. "Are you seeing this?" The xenobiologist's face on his portable comm device had gone completely still. "I'm scanning them remotely through your security feed. Vital. Signs indicate deep REM state, restorative sleep cycle, neural activity consistent with..." She trailed off. "This doesn't match any observed behavior patterns." One of the cubs shifted, stretching slightly. Its foreclaw, tipped with the same razor-sharp talons that had peeled open titanium containment, pushed out of the hoodie pocket. The cub yawned, displaying 3 rows of serrated teeth capable of severing limbs. Then it tucked its head back into the soft fabric and resumed sleeping. "Why haven't they attacked you?" Korvax asked, his weapon now pointed at the floor, but his entire body still rigid with tension. "The moment you touched them, they should have..." Emma gently petted the cub in the hood, her fingers scratching behind its auditory ridges. It leaned into her touch, purring louder. "Because they're comfortable," she said simply. "Comfortable." Zillax's secondary hearts were pounding so hard he could hear them. "Miss Johnson, these are apex predators. They don't do comfortable." "Sure they do." Emma carefully sat down in her chair, cradling the hoodie and its occupants. "Look, this hoodie retains my scent, right? They've been around me for 3 months. I'm not a threat in their assessment. The fabric is soft, nothing like the station materials in their containment. It's warm." She gestured to the climate control vent. "I leave this chair right next to the warmest spot in my quarters because I'm always cold. They probably crawled in here, found this perfect little nest that smelled familiar but not threatening, and just crashed." "But the purring," Lirana protested from the comm. "That's a post-hunt satisfaction response. Or maybe it's just how they sound when they're happy and sleepy." Emma shrugged. "We always interpret animal behavior through this lens of aggression and territory. But they're 8 months old. That's like... what? Equivalent to a human toddler in their development cycle? Approximately, yes, but... So they're toddlers who broke out, had an adventure, and now they're taking a nap. Emma looked down at the cubs, her expression soft. They're not monsters. They're kids who got loose and tired themselves out. One of the cubs in the pocket opened its eyes, vertical pupils dilating in the light. It looked directly at Zillax. Every security officer's weapon came up. The cub yawned again, made a small chirping sound, and burrowed deeper into the hoodie. The warmest spot, Zillax said slowly, his mind trying to reorganize everything he knew about Vorkon behavior. They found the warmest spot in your quarters, right next to where I usually sit. Emma adjusted the hoodie slightly. They associated this space with comfort, not territory. Found the softest thing available and made themselves a nest. Pretty standard animal behavior, actually. Standard. Korvax lowered his weapon completely. Dr. Lirana, in your 37 years of study, we've never observed this, she admitted. But we've also never had humans working with juveniles before. We've studied them in controlled environments, feeding scenarios, territorial establishment situations. We've never considered... She paused. We've never considered comfort-seeking behavior. Emma stood carefully, still holding the hoodie. Okay, so how do we get them back to containment without waking them up? Because if we startle them, then you'll have a problem. You're coming with us, Zillax said. It wasn't a question. You and that garment. My hoodie. Emma grinned. Yeah, I figured. These guys are not letting go of this thing without a fight. Miss Johnson, Korvax said, his tone shifting to something that might have been respect. How did you know? Know what? That they'd be here, in your quarters, in your hoodie. Emma looked down at the 3 sleeping cubs, their dangerous bodies compressed into something that looked almost peaceful. Because I remember being a kid, she said. And when you're scared and tired and everything's overwhelming, you just want to find something soft and warm that smells like home. The cubs were returned to containment within the hour. Still wrapped in Emma's hoodie, still purring, completely unaware they'd caused a station-wide emergency. Zillax personally oversaw the upgrades. Soft bedding materials, temperature controls calibrated warmer, and several comfort items Emma recommended from the station's supply inventory. The hoodie stayed with them. When Emma tried to retrieve it, all 3 cubs vocalized so loudly that the entire residential sector filed noise complaints. Just keep it, Emma had said, laughing. I've got others. Within 24 hours, station protocols were officially updated. Section 7, Subsection 3. In the event of escaped juveniles, check human quarters first. The Galactic Conservation Council's emergency response was even more dramatic. A formal memo circulated to all conservation stations across 12 sectors. Human intuition consultation, now mandatory for all juvenile behavioral assessments. Dr. Lirana submitted 17 requests for Earth mammal behavioral studies, specifically focusing on comfort-seeking in young predators. Her latest paper's introduction included a sentence Zillax never thought he'd see. We have been treating these cubs as weapons in development rather than children. Emma sat in the break room the next morning, scrolling through messages on her tablet and nursing her second coffee. All personnel. 3 Vorkon juveniles have exited containment. Remain calm, initiating search protocols. She didn't even look up from her tablet. 20 minutes later, juveniles located in laundry facility, level 8. Situation contained. Emma took a sip of coffee. Warm clothes, darker room. Called it. Her comm chirped. Zilax's voice came through, sounding tired. Ms. Johnson, the cubs are requesting your presence. They're cubs. They can't request anything. They won't stop vocalizing unless you're nearby. It's been 40 minutes. My staff can't complete the health assessment. Emma sighed, setting down her mug. Great. Now I'm a babysitter for apex predators. She stood, stretching, and started walking toward the containment sector. Under her breath, quiet enough that the comm wouldn't pick it up, she chuckled. Mom's gonna love this story. Galactic Conservation Council. Internal memo priority. Standard distribution. All conservation facilities. Subject. Behavioral assessment protocol update. When in doubt regarding Earth fauna or megafauna behavior, consult human perspective before implementing emergency response protocols. Human intuition regarding juvenile creatures has proven unexpectedly accurate across multiple species classifications. Addendum by Conservation Director Zilax, Station 47. They understand things we've studied for centuries in ways we cannot comprehend. It is not knowledge, it is instinct, and it is invaluable. Emma Johnson's official title remained unchanged in the station directory. Conservation Technician, Grade 3. Her unofficial title, whispered in corridors and logged in incident reports, was something else entirely. The Predator Whisperer. Emma herself remained blissfully unaware of the designation. She was too busy arguing with 3 Vorkon cubs about why they couldn't keep every soft item on the station. Some things, apparently, were universal, regardless of species or how many rows of teeth you had.